enjoy the nice weather. Hey, maybe you're already out there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
You might be out there like Christian Morgan.
It's a nice day, guys. We don't use the word perfect too often in triad weather, but when we do, we really mean it. And today, it's perfect.
That is good news. And it is a big day here in Greensboro. The Fema mass vaccination site is now open for business at Four Seasons Town Center.
And you are taking a live look at the site from our drone Redbird 2. People are getting vaccinated in the parking lot and inside.
Yeah, from this angle, things look like they are moving smoothly, but let's get an update from the ground level. WFMY News 2's Adoria Chumba is live at Four Seasons with more.
Yeah, I feel like I must need some confetti right now, but it is day one of 56 days of mass vaccination here at this FEMA run site in Greensboro. It opened this morning at 8 o'clock, and from the look of things, I've talked to people coming in here and getting vaccinated, as well as officials. It appears that things are off to a good start. Now, this is the only federally run mass vaccination clinic in North Carolina. There are only 18 across the country. National Guardsmen guided cars through the cones and the tents in the parking lot as folks lined up for their first dose. Inside the mall, volunteers guided people to the indoor clinic. U.S. Air Force service members, most of them medics, are working to provide 3,000 doses every day. On this first day, though, they are poised to deliver 3,500 doses due to the demand for appointments.
I feel wonderful. I've been waiting to get it. If it was available sooner, I would have gotten it. So I'm super excited that it's available.
They're running it like it's a military operation because it's fast and clean and tight.
And the clinic again opens at 8 in the morning and closes at 8 at night. And they are looking to give around 168,000 doses of the vaccine. Now, to find out how you can book your appointment, just check out our website, WFMYnews2.com, for more information.
Adoria, thank you for that positive update. The Rockingham County Health Department tells us people in Group 4 are now eligible for the vaccine in the county. Eligibility was open to include people with underlying health conditions, people living in group settings, and essential workers not vaccinated under Group 3. The county health director, Trey Wright, says they got special approval from the state and made this decision after 100 of this week's appointments for people in Groups 1 through 3 were not filled.
So today, Governor Roy Cooper and other state lawmakers, they announced a new bill that will reopen public schools in North Carolina for in-person learning. Now, this bill would open all elementary schools under Plan A, which is full in-person learning. Local districts would give middle and high schools the option for Plan A or a Plan B, which is a hybrid situation. Cooper said the bill will take effect 21 days after he signs it, estimating that will be sometime around the start of April.
Our state's coronavirus hospitalizations took a nice tumble today. The state says there are 1,075 North Carolinians in the hospital with the virus. Now, it doesn't look like a big drop from yesterday, but it's actually 72 fewer than yesterday. Even in the last week, this number is fewer by more than 200. We're now in line with the numbers we were seeing in mid-October. I also want to show you this number on a more local level. This graph shows Guilford County hospitalizations. Today's number is at 60. It's pretty close to what we have seen over the past week, but way down from the peak of 270 in mid-January. A reminder here that the gaps are Saturdays and Sundays since the county doesn't report this data over the weekend.
So the U.S. House has now officially passed President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package. This includes $1,400 stimulus checks for most people, an extension of federal unemployment benefits at $300 a week, as well as money to help schools reopen, increased vaccine distribution, and support for state and local governments. President Biden is expected to sign that bill into law this Friday.
Let's take a look at more headlines with your 4 to 5 roundup. The CDC is not recommending you travel for spring break, even as more people get vaccinated across the country. The CDC says traveling still increases the chance of getting and spreading COVID-19, but if you have to travel, they recommend waiting 2 weeks after getting both doses or the 1-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine to give your body time to build up immunity. The U.S. Travel Association adds you should pick outdoor destinations that you can drive to. President Joe Biden's administration is buying 100 million more doses of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. This comes as Johnson & Johnson is prepared to partner with Merck to boost the production of their shot. Last month, the health department announced they bought 200 million more doses from Pfizer and Moderna. That brings the total purchases from both companies to 600 million. That's enough to vaccinate 300 million people, which is most of the U.S. population. And Alaska's governor announced it has become the first state to drop eligibility requirements for COVID shots, meaning anyone 16 or older who lives or works in the state can now get the vaccine. The state's chief medical officer said they had a lot of open vaccine appointments and wanted to allow as many people who want one to get a vaccine. The CDC says Alaska leads states in the percentage of its population that has gotten both doses of a COVID vaccine.
Well, have you been outside today? We don't use the word perfect too often in triad weather, but when we do, we really mean it. And today, it's a perfect day of weather. Very comfortable, a really nice afternoon to be outside, whether you have chores to do or whether you just want to sit outside and enjoy it. Take a look at our weather camera network right now, and this is kind of the same way it looked yesterday. We yet again have some of those high clouds that have built into the area as we've gone throughout the afternoon. Of course, no rain associated with them, and if you remember, they actually helped to bring us a nice sunset yesterday afternoon, hoping they'll do the same thing this evening. It's our 9th dry day in a row. Last time we did this was all the way back in December, and we're headed for at least 10 days. I don't think we're going to be able to make it to 15, but we will get over 10 days in a row completely dry. And the last time we did that was back in September and October of 2019, so over a year ago. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's been a bit breezy at times today, but right now the wind's not gusting too bad, around 15 to 20 miles per hour in most of the Piedmont. It's a warm afternoon, sitting at 70 degrees in Greensboro right now, 72 in Winston-Salem, and in High Point and in Asheboro, and 71 over in Lexington as well. Now notice how quickly we've warmed things up. We started at 37 this morning, and we've gotten all the way up to 72 this afternoon. A 37-degree warm up, around 40 degrees by the time we get done. And of course, that dry weather hanging around and warm weather hanging around too, which means the tree pollen levels are going to remain quite high. Temperatures tonight, we're dropping down into the upper 40s to right around 50 degrees. It's a warmer night of weather and a nice afternoon on the way for your Thursday. Partly cloudy, low 70s, a bit breezy at times. We'll tell you what that 7-day forecast looks like and when we get another shot for rain. That's coming up on your 4 to 5. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. We know the history of the Triad is rich, and part of that history is thanks to the women who left their mark. Today we are honoring women who made an impact on Greensboro and our nation. I sat down virtually with Glenn Perkins of the History Museum to learn about a few of them. Here's part 1 of our conversation.
There are so many women who have been such pioneers here in Greensboro in fields of education and protest and professions. I mean, there's absolutely so many women who are important, not just to the state, but nationwide. You know, Judge Elrita Alexander is one woman who jumps to mind.
Judge Alexander was the first Black woman in North Carolina to be licensed and practice as a lawyer, to argue before our state Supreme Court, and to be elected a judge.
There was a couple of great suffragists who worked right here in Greensboro. Louise Brevard Alexander was one. She was a teacher, and she went on to become one of the first women lawyers to practice in the state. She was inspired by her friend and colleague Harriet Elliott. If you've been to UNCG, you know about the Elliott Center.
Both women helped secure a woman's right to vote, among their many other individual accomplishments, including serving on presidential administrations. Mary Webb Nicholson took women's history to new heights.
She was the first woman to get her pilot's license in the state of North Carolina, and flew in and out of Lindley Airfield, which was the airport in the 1930s.
And you can catch part 2 of our conversation where we introduce you to a few more history makers, including one very familiar face here at WFMY News 2. You can guess who that may be. It's coming up in about 30 minutes. So obviously this entire month is Women's History Month. We celebrated International Women's Day on Monday. So guys, I was just so excited to learn more about the women who made Greensboro what it is. And boy, did I learn so much today.
It's so funny how when we do, I love history stories, Maddie, I know you do too. We're both kind of geeks on that way, but I love it because one of the things you find out is why certain things in our cities, all of our cities, were named what they were named, and you had never had a clue, you know? I think that's really cool.
I learned a lot of that kind of stuff too, just going to the Greensboro History Museum. I mean, and I didn't grow up in Greensboro, but after going there, I felt so much city pride. You know, I felt like I truly was from here, learning about so many different aspects of Greensboro's history and the kind of people who helped make it what it is today.
And what I loved about the piece was, Maddie, that you learned so many things about so many different women that made Greensboro what it is today.
I mean, across the spectrum.
Exactly. I mean, we had lawyers, we had, what was the other lady? She was flying. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I can't wait till 4:30 to see. Well, I kind of have an idea what the 4:30 piece is about, but I'm very excited to see.
Does her initials start with an S and end with an H?
It sure does.
Interesting.
She's one of my favorites.
Sure does. Yes, she is one of my favorites as well. You know, I think we've always said Greensboro history really is national history because we have been the center of so many huge events in our nation. And I think that the women's part of that history is also national history. We're talking about ladies who were on presidential administrations who were teaching girls how to vote while fighting for them to have the right to vote. So once they did get that right, they knew exactly what to do when they walked in to the voting booth. So it's really cool stuff. And of course, you can check out the History Museum's website if you want to learn more.
Great stuff. Well, let us know what you think on Facebook. We're there all the time. We'll be right back.
We live there.
Right. Yeah, we live there.
Okie doke. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check.
We have got a full slate of games today in second round action of the men's ACC tournament. It was this time last year when virus concerns brought the tournament to a dramatic halt. WFMY News 2's Amanda Ferguson talked to fans today, excited to be there.
Chad, 1 year ago today, the ACC announced no fans would be here for the rest of the tournament. I remember talking to fans that day, and it was a feeling of disappointment. But here we are, 1 year later, the tournament rolling around again, and fans able to get inside. For some, it's the first time this season. A limited number of fans in attendance this year as we continue to deal with this virus. But Wolfpack fans like Tyler Downs say they're grateful to be here and see a game in person once again, especially to be able to support a team that means so much to them.
Oh, it's crazy. Last year, I remember we got canceled, the whole tournament, all of it really disappointed me. But I'm excited to be back and kind of back in action. NC State has been literally my entire life. All my family went there. It was like a you're going to NC State kind of moment for us. So I love the school. I had a great time there. I love cheering, home games, football games, everything. It was just a great time.
Coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5 and 6, I'll take you back to that day and we'll hear from a fan who was here in attendance 1 year ago.
I cannot believe it has already been a year. Well, the Wolfpack took the court today at noon to open up day 2 of the ACC tournament against the 8th-seeded Syracuse. Head coach Kevin Keats and the Pack looked to pick up the W to advance to the quarterfinals. Greensboro Day alum Cam Hayes put State up early with the long 3. Unfortunately for fans of the red and white, Syracuse came to play. Joseph Giardi and Buddy Boeheim combined for 41 points, knocking down 8 threes between them. The Orange pull away and win it 89-68. NC State finished the season 13-10 overall.
Well, are you outside, maybe watching this outside, or maybe outside doing some chores, washing the car? Doesn't matter regardless. If you haven't been outside today, I highly encourage you to do it. We don't use the word perfect often, but when we say that, we mean it. Today is a perfect day of weather to be outside. Taking a live look over Burlington right now. Of course, there is sunshine, those flags blowing around, and a little bit of a breeze that we've got this afternoon. And of course, just like yesterday, we have some of these high clouds that are built into the triad. There's no rain associated with these. What they did yesterday was actually help to make for a really nice sunset, and we're hoping they'll do the same thing this evening. By the way, sunset is at 6:22, but take a look at what happens. We're back to 7:30 sunsets in about 2 weeks, and there's a really big reason for that. Go ahead, set a reminder in your phone to move those clocks forward 1 hour on Saturday night before you go to bed. Daylight saving time officially begins 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, so Saturday will be our last 6 o'clock sunset in the triad until October. Sunday night, 7:26 is our sunset as we spring those clocks forward. Warm air still building in from the south with a 10 to 15 mile per hour breeze right now. Has been gusting around 20 miles per hour at times, but it's not a very windy afternoon of weather. Sitting at 70 degrees in Greensboro, 72 in Winston-Salem, 71 in Asheboro, 71 in Lexington. A little cooler in the mid 60s, of course, back in the mountains. But watch as we zoom out on a wider view on this temperature map. There's still plenty of warmth left to go, so we still have a few more days of this. But notice, up to the northwest, there is some colder air that's starting to inch closer and closer. Reason for that is there's a cold front slowly working its way towards us. We have an upper level disturbance that's responsible for these high clouds. Again, there's no rain associated with this, just some extra high cloudiness today. And over the next few days, as the cold front gets closer, we'll see some extra high clouds building in the afternoons. High pressure still in control of our weather, but centered well offshore. Our winds, of course, still coming out of the south and out of the southwest, and it will slowly progress to the east. As it does, this is the cold front that will slowly be working its way toward us by the time we get to Friday. It's going to be just to our north. Can't rule out some drizzle or maybe a spotty shower on Saturday, but I think for the most part we stay dry. Better chances for rain start to come as we end the weekend and go into next week. Of course, with that dry and warm air, tree pollen levels are going to stay quite high. So if you are an allergy sufferer, just keep that in mind. In March, well, it's off to a warm start. The warm days, 6 of them, outweigh the cooler days. Only 4 days below average right now in the month of March. Tonight, partly cloudy skies will drop down into the mid 40s for your Thursday. We're back into the mid 70s in the afternoon. Same thing for Friday. We're up in the rain chances, heading for a more unsettled weather pattern and a cooler weather pattern too as we end the weekend and head into next week. We'll be right back.
So check this out. It's not often that you get a chance to taste a unique wine and then also have a Q&A live chat with the guy who made it. It's pretty cool. I spoke with Danny McKay, who, by the way, you may recognize if you go to a lot of Greensboro Grasshoppers game. I spoke with him. He owns a wine shop called The Loaded Grape, and they're doing this virtual tasting event, which is, by the way, tomorrow night. Take a look.
Danny, thanks for being with me today. You know, it's difficult for me not to call you Spaz, but we're going to put that over here, right? Put that away.
Right.
That's right. Tell me about what's going on with your business. It's pretty cool. You guys are kind of shifting and changing here.
At The Loaded Grape, we've had to do lots of things during the pandemic to survive, like a lot of small businesses. And one of those is doing virtual tastings. And we've been able to up it a level and allow folks to come by and pick up tasting kits so they can taste at home. We send them a Zoom link so they have that. And we have one coming up this Thursday at 7:30 with Dan Phillips, who was the godfather to put wine in bourbon barrels. And we're really, really excited about this tasting and would love to have folks join us.
That's crazy. All right, so tell me how it works then. How's the process work?
So it's real simple. If you go over to loadedgrape.com, right on our homepage, there's a link that you can sign up right there and purchase your tasting kit. And then on Thursday, starting at 2 o'clock, you can come by the wine shop, pick up your tasting kit with the Zoom link, and join us at 7:30. Dan's going to be joining us from California. And so you'll sit back, relax, open up your tasting kit, and enjoy wines while learning all about the process and the grapes and the wineries in which these amazing wines are made. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
This is perfect, man. Great work. We'll all be there. I appreciate your help today, Danny.
So I asked everybody on Facebook, I said, go ahead and give me the skinny on your choice of North Carolina wineries and why you like them. A lot of people, there's kind of a common theme going on here. Steph Walker said, you know, my late husband played in 2 bands that played at Childress Vineyard, so I have to say Childress. Priscilla says Shelton Vineyards, that's up in Surrey County in Dobson. Norma Ray said, Round Peak. I wasn't familiar with that one. Great folks, great wine and beer, beautiful views and fun events. That's one to put on the list. Gay says Divine Llama. Didn't know about that one either. And Nikki said The Grove. They have fantastic strawberry wine and a great atmosphere. Went to The Grove for the first time over the summer last year, well, toward fall. And they had everybody like socially distanced with ropes to keep everybody in certain sections. And they were really doing it right. So there's a lot of fun places up in Western and Northwestern North Carolina as far as vineyards go.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how the Yadkin Valley wine scene has grown over the past few years. I remember when it first started, I was still growing up in Mount Airy, and you started seeing these little vineyards pop up and people were talking about them, but now it's really well known across the country, and we talk about them doing so many things to boost tourism to that area. I think they're really doing a nice job with that.
I think one time we even discussed that they should make like a train that runs through all of the Yadkin Valley so you can safely ride to each of the vineyards and check them all out. There are a lot, so many good ones up there. And I know I see a lot of wine tour / party buses that are really making a name for themselves, taking people up through that area.
It's pretty too.
And
Absolutely.
I'm not much of a wine person. I've actually never been to a winery in my life, but I've got it on the list. I've been adding things to my list the last couple of weeks, of things to do here in the Triad and in North Carolina in general. So I appreciate the suggestion, Eric, but I do love this virtual tasting at home. It sounds like a great idea of maybe date night. If maybe 1 or 2 friends come through, I don't know, but it sounds like a great time just to be able to experience things and still do normal things, but in the comfort of your home.
And within a certain area, they will deliver to your house too. So it's a pretty good deal.
Oh, you can't beat that then.
I think I've come up with the name for it. It's going to be Jalen's July Journeys.
My birthday's in July too.
And like
make it
once
work.
a week or so, you're going to go somewhere that you've never been before and just kind of see it like how the tourists do.
Sign me up. We're going to have to pitch that to the boss to see
Perfect.
what they
And then it ends with your trip to Turks and Caicos.
Bang.
Bang.
The man hadn't been to a North Carolina vineyard, but he's going to Turks and Caicos.
Absolutely.
Well, his priorities are.
There we go. My priorities are in line.
The vineyard trip might be a little bit more convenient and a little bit less expensive.
Cheaper.
Right. Well, it depends how much
I'm about to
wine
say
you
it just
drink,
depends on
True.
what my day
you taking
consists
home with
of.
you? All right, well, we are heading to break, but we are live on the Facebook page. We are all there chatting with you in the comments section, so we'd love to see you.
We will see you there right now in 10 seconds. Go there.
Hi, good afternoon, Facebook. How's everybody doing today? I told you we'd see you soon, and here we are. So we're chatting with you, and we want you.
Hey, sorry, I was back here humming. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hello, Facebook. Mic check.
Hi, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas. Kentucky, you know the rest.
Mic check, mic check. Christian, you back there? You all right, buddy? Just wanted to make sure, just checking on you. Make sure you're doing all right. Didn't sound like you were.
Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie. They forever go together. It looks like I'm in the next block though. Okay.
Governor Cooper toured every part of this facility today. He saw all of the operations, both indoor and
Good afternoon. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner. We have Chad Soper, Jalen Gilkey, and Christian Morgan here this afternoon. It is a beautiful Wednesday.
This is one of those days where I wish that we could switch places there, Christian Morgan, because it's really so nice out there.
Come on out here. Last night we were talking about maybe, you know, washing cars and that kind of thing. I was going to ask you if you got to wash yours today.
No, I did not, but I did wash it. I brought it to the car wash yesterday.
Okay, good enough.
So
Fair enough.
we're good until the pollen puts a nice little coating on it.
It's that time of the year.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, catch up with us on Facebook. And in the meantime, it's a big day for Greensboro as the Fema mass vaccination site opened. Governor Cooper toured the site on its opening day, and WFMY News 2's Grace Holland is live outside Four Seasons Town Center with an update. Hey, Grace.
Governor Cooper got an up-close look at all of the operations here at the Four Seasons Town Center. He said what impressed him most was the amount of coordination between local, state, and federal officials. He toured that site with North Carolina Emergency Management Director Mike Sprayberry and Guilford County Board of Commissioners Chair Skip Alston. While touring, he greeted people getting their vaccines and thanked Air Force and National Guard service members working in the clinic. I asked Cooper what stood out to him the most during his visit.
Hearing people being so grateful after they had received their shot, feeling safer already, although they know it takes a little time for immunity.
North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services officials say the site is getting people through faster than they anticipated. The clinic was expected to give 3,000 doses a day. Officials say they will give more than 3,500 here today. Now, this site is actually going to become a hub for some smaller clinics that are going to be spread out throughout our area. We're still learning more about that. I'll show you those details coming up at 5.
Nice to see it's going off without a hitch so far. Thanks, Grace. As more people get the vaccine, more groups will open up to get it. Right now, groups 1 through 3 can get a shot. Next up, group 4, which opens March 24th. It's important to know this will happen in phases. The first people in group 4 will be those with high-risk medical conditions, the homeless, and people in jail or prison. They're followed by people who live in close group settings before opening it up to everyone else in group 4.
There has been some political debate over the recent stimulus package and how much of it actually goes to helping people deal with COVID-19. So we had our verified team sort through the noise to find out what's really going on. Here's Jason Puckett.
We're talking about how much of the current stimulus bill is actually related to COVID-19. Politicians like Congressman Ted Budd claim
with about 9% of it actually going to COVID, meaning 91% of it not even COVID related.
So let's verify. Is it true that 91% of the stimulus isn't COVID related? Our main sources to find out are the Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, and the bill itself, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So there's a lot of political spin going on here. The term COVID related is broad. Does that mean actual spending on the vaccine and treatment? Or since the economy has been hurt by the disease, does that also include funds that help the economy recover? Well, politicians aren't really explaining what they mean. So let's take a look at the actual numbers. Right now, the bill is roughly $1.9 trillion. Of that, only about $265 billion, or 8.5%, is specifically listed for things like COVID testing, protective gear, treatments, vaccines, and distribution. That's 8.5% specifically for COVID-19, but that doesn't mean the rest of the bill isn't COVID related. The largest part of the bill is $420 billion in direct stimulus payments to individuals to help with financial struggles caused by the pandemic. Another $350 billion is going towards extending unemployment benefits for those who lost jobs or income during the pandemic, and about $130 billion is being used to help schools reopen safely. That's another $900 billion set aside because of COVID-19's effects on our economy, unemployment, and schools. Now, to be clear, there are some parts of this bill, including $110 billion to increase the child tax credit, that have been Democratic priorities before the pandemic. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates the bill has at least $312 billion of policies that have little to do with the current crisis. But that's about 16% of the bill that's not related, not 91%. Bottom line, the claim that 91% of the stimulus bill is not COVID related is false.
Well, we've been talking about it feeling like spring, but it's also kind of looking like spring across the Triad. If you take a look when you're out driving, maybe with the windows down, maybe you've seen some flowers blooming, and maybe you're seeing a sight like this. Beautiful daffodils are blooming across the Triad, and they actually don't last long. Love this picture sent to us actually yesterday from Snooky Wall. Of course, we always love to see your pictures. You can send them to us on our News 2 Weather Facebook. All you got to do is just post the picture there. We'll comment on them, and we'll take them and show them on air. This is what things look like across the Triad this evening. We had a lot of sunshine and blue sky early on, but much like yesterday, we've seen some of these high clouds building in as we've gone throughout the afternoon. Again, there's no rain associated with these. They actually could help to make for a really nice sunset, which, by the way, is at 6:22 tonight. You can see those moving into the area from just an upper level disturbance swinging by, but again, no rain associated with this, just some high clouds and kind of giving a filtered sunshine look to the sky as we go throughout this afternoon. 70 degrees right now in Greensboro, 72 Winston-Salem, a 70 down in Lexington, 71 in Asheboro. Of course, as expected, a little cooler. We're back in the mid-60s in the mountains. But take a look at this big deal warm-up that we've had today. We started the morning at 37 early on, but we made it all the way to 72 unofficially today. It's a 35-degree warm-up so far, and we'll see what that climate report says as it comes in. 47 degrees tonight, 46 somewhere in there, closer to the 50-degree mark tonight, so not quite as cold as we have been the last few nights. Pretty much the same story. Mid-40s back to the west in the foothill and mountain communities as well. Your Thursday, it's another really nice spring-like day, starting off cool, making it up into the lower 70s by the afternoon. It will be a little bit breezy at times too tomorrow, so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. The next 3 days are nice, feeling like spring through Friday. We are going to cool it back down in a big way heading into the weekend. We'll start to add in low-end chances for rain. I'll show you what that 7-day forecast holds as the weather pattern is changing, folks. It's coming up in a few minutes.
Time to get to your 4 to 5 roundup today. First up, a Triad man has been charged for his role in the January 6th Capitol attack. Federal investigators arrested Matthew Wood in Winston-Salem after he turned himself in. The feds say Wood admitted he entered the Capitol through a broken window and walked into House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's conference room. Wood faces several charges, including knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building and obstruction of justice. Meantime, the Pentagon says about 2,300 National Guardsmen will be staying in the district for 2 more months. Right now, there are about 5,100 troops in D.C. The National Guard will work with Capitol Police to reduce the number of soldiers as needed. Buckingham Palace is reacting to that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle interview with Oprah Winfrey over the weekend. In a written response, Queen Elizabeth said the whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The statement also said the issues addressed are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much loved family members. We'll be right back.
Yep, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie. So I'm trying to move that light so you don't see that rainbow at the top, but I don't know that that's gonna happen. Alarm clock, of course, because I know how much you love to sleep, Chad. I know you hate that sound.
I do hate that sound. I love to sleep about 9 hours a night, and I don't ever push the snooze button, so I want to make that clear. But here, now if I know you well, which I know that I do, you probably got a certain picture of me ready to go.
I do have a certain picture because I just can't help it. I love this picture. This picture right here, Chad Silver, you of Sleeping Beauty. I got to tell you, you just look so peaceful.
I should have known that this was coming up. It's important to note now this is photoshopped because I'd make a really ugly girl. Doesn't this photo ever expire, Tanya?
I don't think so. I like to keep this in my pocket and use it all of the time if I can. I know. Okay, let's get to the real story here. We're talking about daylight saving time. We're going to spring forward. That's right. It's this weekend. And losing an hour of sleep for someone who hits the snooze button already, it's a problem.
Some people find it very, very difficult to get up in the morning, particularly if they have to rise earlier than usual. That's very true and very common in adolescents, teenagers.
Any of us who like to sleep, right? Okay, so snoozing your alarm will not cause you any harm, except maybe being late for work or something else. It could mean you have nocturnal anxiety. That's right. Doctors estimate that about 50% of Americans suffer from some sort of sleep disorder. Are you one of them? On average, adults get about 6 hours of sleep a night, but most adults are supposed to sleep between 8 and 9 hours a night.
So if you are really irregular in your schedule, then your body doesn't know what to do. A sleep ritual that allows one to divest themselves of the day as best as possible, to relax.
The good doctor says you need to have a sleep ritual for the next couple of nights, and it needs to include an earlier bedtime. That's right. So go to bed early tonight and the rest of the nights.
Yes, sir. Check 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3. Check, check. Hello. Hello, hello. Hello. Thank you.
Well, you can't talk about Greensboro's history without talking about the groundbreaking women who made it. In part 2 of my conversation with Glenn Perkins of the History Museum, we touch on a few more figures, one who you are sure to recognize.
We have these women who are pioneers, and we also have women who are both partners and pioneers. Somebody like Martha Sebastian, who established the Carnegie Negro Library.
Sebastian noticed African Americans in Greensboro weren't receiving the same opportunities at segregated libraries and worked to make an independent branch that became one of the strongest in the South. And here's a familiar face, our very own Sandra Hughes, certainly a history maker.
When she became an anchor here at a Southern TV station in the early 1970s, in 1972, it was as a Black woman taking that role, it was really a pioneering move. She has been recognized for her long career in journalistic service, but in sort of opening that door for a generation of journalists.
These are only a handful of the countless women who made this Triad City great and left their mark on our state and nation.
I think our city owes a lot to so many of these pioneering women, whether it's Sandra Hughes, or whether it's Josephine Boyd, or whether it's somebody like Willa Player, who was the president of Bennett College and was just critical to organizing the sit-ins.
From civil rights leaders to teachers, even pilots, we have them to thank for where we are today.
So if you missed part 1 of our conversation and the stories of Judge Elrita Alexander, Louise Brevard Alexander, Harriet Elliott, and Mary Webb Nicholson, you can find that on our website. Now, I asked on my Facebook page, what accomplishment by women do you admire most? And I love the responses I got today. Christy Bledsoe Brady said, my mom went back to school in her 40s after my father had passed away. She put herself through nursing school, earning her LPN, RN, and BSN. To say I'm proud of her accomplishment is an understatement. I don't know how moms do it. Tony Lee Petit said, those who have served in or are currently serving in the military and putting others first, service before self, integrity first, and excellence in all we do. Bobby Odom, one of our regulars, said, I will have to say I'm really proud of those ladies that started that all-female painting company in Greensboro, North Carolina. And John Kell says, I have always respected and marveled at how my mother balanced family and work, always finding the energy necessary to complete all tasks with a smile and grace. I believe it has inspired me to go seek above and beyond in all I do as well. They can do anything, those women, huh?
I love that Sandra Hughes was part of that story. Yeah, I remember last year when she did some work for us when we were doing a story on the anniversary of the Greensboro sit-ins, and she just talked about all the different things that she had to go through as a trailblazer for both women, female journalists, but also women of color in the journalism field. And she is such an inspiration. She's got to be an inspiration to so many people.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity to work with her a few times when she was coming back to visit. And she hates when I say this, but I was like, Sandra, I learned about you in school. So it's a surreal moment to get to anchor or do a newscast alongside her, because she's in books about pioneering women in journalism. And it's just amazing that she was right here in the studio.
I literally watched her growing up. She hated when I said that too. But we would talk about the stories, and I would ask her about, the early days of when she started. And some of the stories, especially when you hear it in today's time frame, are shocking, because she told me that there were bomb threats when she would just be on television, and they would have to clear the building because it was a bomb threat. And she said there were 2 people that stayed in that building with her and made sure that she stayed on the air, so they would not let this person or people, whoever were doing this, would not let her not broadcast. And by the way, she always told me, she goes, and it was really interesting, she said those 2 people that did that were not of color, but they stayed and helped me out. And they're amazing stories. She has a million of these great stories.
Well, Dr. Hughes is one of the most influential people in our area, and she was actually a professor at A&T when I was enrolled there. Unfortunately, I was never able to take her on-air delivery class. It filled up within minutes of open registration. That's probably my biggest regret in my academic career, was not being timely enough to get signed up and enrolled into Dr. Hughes' on-air delivery class.
I want to take that on-air delivery class. Maybe she can do a private one for us. You know what I think is so amazing is all of the women who we covered today. It wasn't easy for them to make history, right? There were so many things in their path that they had to overcome, but they did, and they made our future better because of the things that they did in the past.
And I'm just glad that there is a month when we can dedicate our time to honoring them and really sharing with others the work that they did.
So Sandra, if you're watching, we love you and we admire you, and
Sandra.
thank you.
We'll be right back.
Yes, Sandra Hughes will always be a legend here at News 2. Have you been outside today? Weather-wise, it's absolutely gorgeous, feeling like spring. Don't get too comfortable yet. We'll have some cooler days and some more rainy days on the way before too long. Take a look at what the Triad looks like right now. This is the time lapse over the Triad today. Of course, a lot of sunshine early on, but then as we've gone throughout the afternoon, just like yesterday, we've seen some of these high clouds building in. No rain associated with these. In fact, just like yesterday, they may help to make for a really good sunset, which is at 6:22 tonight. By the way, our last 6 o'clock sunset until October is Saturday night. Then we spring forward 1 hour. Sunday night, our sunset will be back to 7:26. At that point, it really starts to feel and look a whole lot more like spring and, of course, summer. Temperature-wise right now, we're all sitting in the 70s, 70 in Greensboro, 72 in Winston-Salem, 71 in Asheboro and in Lexington, and our winds still coming pretty strongly out of the south, bringing in all of that warmer air. About 10 to 15 miles per hour, and we have seen some 20-mile-per-hour gusts across the region today. High pressure remaining in control of our weather, but it started to shift offshore, meaning we're still getting in on some of this warmth. But this cold front is inching closer to us, and that will likely bring us at least a chance for some rain by the time we end the week. It gets closer to us and increases our clouds for Friday and for Saturday, but by the time we get to the end of the week and head into Monday and Tuesday, that's when we're going to see the better chance to see some more real deal rain. Tonight, temperatures dropping down into the mid-40s. We'll be back in the mid-70s tomorrow afternoon, and Friday too. We're cooling down over the weekend, and we're heading into an unsettled weather pattern with rain chances going up next week.
Of this clinic, both outdoor and indoor, which will vaccinate more than 3,500 people on its first day.
One fan takes me back to that day. Hello, mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10.
After 2 weeks of setting up and with more than 300 workers, this mass vaccination site here at the Four Seasons Town Center.
$1,400 for individuals making less than $75,000 a year.
Hi there, 1 2 3. Got a loud noise in the weather garden, but don't worry about it. It's in the building. We'll be fine.
Hi there, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky.
I would like to state something. I am not a vaccine appointment hoarder.
You know, I've been reading a lot and trying to get caught up, checking things out on the internet, articles about what our kids are going to face in the wake of this pandemic. Even when our numbers go down, keep going down, hopefully, and all this is over with, there are consequences that we're all going to have to deal with as adults. But really, I'm more concerned, as a father of four, of the kids. Kids in the educational realm are suffering here. I was reading one article that said grades 3 to 8 were scoring 5 to 10 points lower in math assessment exams than they did before the pandemic. And remote learning has resulted, in this one article at least, in about 10% less classroom face-to-face time. It's hard. Parents, we know how hard it is to keep them in a remote learning atmosphere. It's difficult. And there is that lag, and we're going to have to pay that price and help our kids in the long run. 24% increase in mental health emergency room visits in children ages 5 to 11, and it's even higher, 31% for teenagers. But I will say this, it's not all bad news. There's been a reduction in drug and alcohol use in teenagers, and juvenile arrests and incarceration rates also were down. But the educational and the mental effect of the pandemic and the isolation on our children will be long lasting, and we have to work at this. And parents, I'm here with you to say how hard it will be, but don't our little ones deserve a little extra attention in the next few years so they can live a good life later on? I think they do. It's our responsibility. But that's just my 2 cents, and that's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
Congress passes President Biden's COVID-19 relief bill, clearing the way for $1,400 stimulus checks. When could you get the money?
New legislation backed by Governor Roy Cooper and many NC lawmakers says all elementary schools have to operate under Plan A. That is full in-person learning.
But first, thousands of people got their COVID-19 vaccines today on the opening day of the Fema mass vaccination clinic in Greensboro.
It is the only one of its kind in our state, and it will be open for the next 8 weeks at Four Seasons Town Center. This is a live look from above from our drone Redbird 2. You can see the parking lot is set up to optimize wait times.
U.S. Air Force personnel and the National Guard are helping vaccinate 3,000 people a day, 7 days a week. WFMY News 2's Adori Chumba joins us live now with more on day one.
That's right. After 2 weeks of setting up and now with more than 300 workers, the vaccination site here at the Four Seasons Town Center is finally open, up and running. And it is now open to the public. Now, for the next 8 weeks, U.S. Air Force service members will be giving 3,000 doses every day. Most of them are medics. The National Guardsmen guiding cars through the Four Seasons Town Center parking lot. And on this first day, they are poised to deliver 3,500 doses.
This place is well run. Very impressed with the way it operates, from the signage out front directing people where to go to when you step into the mall, the site being at the mall. Man, these people have got it down.
We got to see the indoor clinic in a test run with 500 essential workers yesterday. Now, I spoke to one of the military commanders assigned to this operation under FEMA, and here's what he had to say.
We're also working on flow and continuing to make improvements to make sure that it's a fast and efficient process from the reservation to showing up to getting registered, sitting down one time, getting your shot, getting your follow-on appointment, having someone monitor you, and then when you're done, you're up and out of here in the most quick and efficient manner.
And this clinic will administer 168,000 doses of the vaccine. Officials tell me that they plan to use the Pfizer vaccine for the first 6 weeks of the clinic, and then they will switch to the Johnson & Johnson single-dose version for the final 2 weeks. Again, their appointments are available by phone or online. Just check out our website, WFMYnews2.com, to find out how to book an appointment.
Adori, thank you. Governor Roy Cooper toured the mass vaccination clinic in Greensboro this afternoon. WFMY News 2's Grace Holland walked with him through the site, and she joins us live now outside the Four Seasons Town Center with more on his visit.
Well, during that tour, Governor Cooper got a look at all of these different areas of the clinic. He talked to people who were waiting in line by these folks, but he also toured every single inch of this massive facility, both indoor and outdoor clinics, which will vaccinate more than 3,500 people on its first day. Inside the mall, the governor saw U.S. Air Force and National Guard service members preparing needles for vaccinations and freezer storage. The site will become a hub for other smaller vaccination clinics. We don't know where those clinics will be yet, but the North Carolina Health and Human Services Deputy Secretary Cody Kinsley offered some details on how they'll work.
going to look like churches and community centers, 500 doses here or 1,000 doses there, and real intentionality working with community health workers, community-based organizations to make sure that people across North Carolina, across this region, can get access.
Kinsley says the hope is to launch those sites next week. The Greensboro site will remain open for 8 weeks. FEMA officials expect there will be discussions about keeping it open longer after an efficient first day.
If this works well, we would hope that there could be an extension, but we're grateful for what we have because these vaccines are over and above our allocation that we're getting already.
You may have noticed Guilford County Board of Commissioners Chair Alston giving a thumbs up behind the governor there. He joined the governor for that tour today, and as you may remember, he was a big proponent of bringing this site to Greensboro in the first place. He says that county leaders would welcome being able to host this clinic for another 8 weeks if given the chance.
All right, Grace, thank you. The goal is to give out nearly 170,000 shots over the next 2 months. The phone number to call to schedule an appointment is right here on your screen, 888-675-4567. For a link to schedule online and other clinic details, head to our website.
The Federal Vaccine Clinic in Greensboro is just one of the many places you can go to get a shot here in the Piedmont Triad. Today, Navant Health held a pop-up clinic at St. Peter's World Outreach Center in Winston-Salem. 500 people got vaccinated, mostly essential workers, including some first responders. Groups 1, 2, and 3 are currently eligible to get vaccinated, and that includes healthcare workers, people 65 and older, teachers, and essential workers like law enforcement, grocery store workers, restaurant employees, and more. Go to the State Health Department's website for specific details about each group, and you can also pre-register to be notified when you are eligible.
The Rockingham County Health Department is the first in the triad to open vaccines up to part of Group 4. That includes people with underlying health conditions, people living in group settings, and essential workers who were not vaccinated in Group 3. Officials say they made this decision and got it approved after about 100 of this week's appointments for people in Groups 1, 2, and 3 were not filled. Most of the remaining appointments were filled within hours of opening up to Group 4. For the rest of the states, Governor Roy Cooper says some people in Group 4 can start getting vaccinated on March 24th. That's unless other counties follow in Rockingham's footsteps and get special approval from the state.
Before touring the Greensboro vaccination site, Governor Roy Cooper and North Carolina lawmakers finalized a deal to reopen schools. This after much back and forth after he vetoed a previous reopening bill. The new bill requires all elementary schools to operate under Plan A. That is full in-person learning 5 days a week. WFMY News 2's Jess Winters explains how soon this could happen.
Today, I'm pleased to stand with these leaders and announce an agreement to get all students in school safely and surely.
A bipartisan deal on school reopening has been reached.
North Carolina is seeing promise in its vaccine distribution and declining rates of infection, both of which are critical to opening schools to in-person instruction.
Outlined in the bill, all elementary schools will be required to operate under Plan A, which is full in-person instruction 5 days a week. The majority of elementary schools in the state are already doing this. The biggest change, districts can opt for Plan B or Plan A for middle and high school. It's up to individual boards to make that call. If they choose to do daily in-person classes, they have to notify the state health department and provide a plan for how they're going to do it safely. Representative John Hardister says this is a long time coming.
This is a step in the right direction. I'm glad that we're moving towards a compromise. Candidly, it's not perfect. I'd rather us be at Plan A completely across the state.
Governor Cooper says he's hoping to sign the legislation this week. Adding more students could get more time in the classroom as early as April 1st. Keep in mind, virtual options are still available. Jess Winters, WFMY News 2.
Our state's coronavirus hospitalizations went down nicely today. The state says there are 1,075 North Carolinians in the hospital with the virus. It's 72 fewer than yesterday. We're now in line with the numbers that we were seeing in mid-October. On the county level, Guilford County hospitalizations are now at 60. It's pretty close to what we've seen over the past week, but it's actually way down from our peak of 270 back in mid-January. A reminder, the gaps here are Saturdays and Sundays since the county doesn't report this data over the weekend.
The Democrat-controlled House just handed President Joe Biden his first legislative win, passing the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Direct stimulus checks could go out by the end of the month. That's $1,400 to individuals making less than $75,000 a year and $2,800 for couples that make under $150,000 a year. The bill also extends the $300 a week in unemployment benefits and includes a tax credit of up to $3,600 per child. The White House press secretary says President Biden plans to sign the legislation on Friday. Earlier this afternoon, the president hosted the CEO of Johnson & Johnson and Merck to announce a deal to purchase 100 million more doses of the single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. According to the latest CDC numbers, more than 62 million Americans have received at least one dose of a coronavirus vaccine. Well, round 2 of the ACC men's tournament is getting underway today. 4 games are in action inside of the Greensboro Coliseum.
Last year, games got canceled as the tournament was abruptly cut short because of the pandemic. WFMY News 2's Amanda Ferguson met some fans who are back to see the tournament in full this year.
Julie, Manny, little did we know this round last year would be the end of the 2020 ACC tournament. Fans walking around here disappointed and confused about what would happen next. One fan walks me through that moment in time.
It was weird. It just didn't seem real, totally unreal.
This was the final round of the 2020 ACC tournament, and Chef Bone was here for it. North Carolina and Syracuse. 1 year later in the second round, both teams playing today, just not against each other. This is what the stands looked like in 2021. Much different. One thing that remains the same, Bone's back here in Greensboro to support the Tar Heels.
Actually, it's been 363 days since I've been at a college basketball game, and I'm kind of having DTs from it. And we're going to be here all day to see all 4 games, which is going to be awesome. I go to as many games as I can, and I just bleed Carolina blue during basketball season.
Bones here with his grandson today. He says he wants to keep North Carolina basketball a tradition in his family, a special day for them.
I'll tell you what, anyone in town for these games, they're going to want to come back to Greensboro. Yeah, the weather's always like this, don't worry. It's good to go. We have blue sky right now. A couple of clouds are around, but the temperature, it's room temperature outside right now in the low 70s. Currently a very beautiful afternoon as we've kind of become accustomed to this week. This warm weather, well, there's more of it where that came from. I think the next couple of days, it'll look pretty much just like that. I'll tell you what, this is beautiful weather. And that wind is coming in out of the south right now. No surprise why we have a warm day. And ironically enough, let's take a look at these temperatures across the eastern United States. Look who has the same temperature as we do. Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Chicago, all basically within 3 degrees of us, even Jacksonville, Florida. Very equitable temperature across the eastern U.S. right now. Overnight tonight, it is not cooling off all that much. We'll have lows in the upper 40s. So we start out a little warmer for our Thursday morning. We should end up a little bit warmer for Thursday afternoon. Similar to today, I'm expecting a high right around 74 degrees. Like today, it'll be breezy. In fact, I think a little bit more so tomorrow. Those wind gusts could come about 25 miles per hour. This is the warm weather. However, that's going to come to an end. Coming up, we'll talk about your extended forecast.
We are in the middle of tax season. If you haven't filed yet, the IRS wants you to do it online, but is it safe?
How to protect your personal information next.
Hello guys, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together. It is all right here in black and white, but let me bring it full screen for you so I can really show it to you. It says, alert, due to staffing issues, processing paper returns could take longer. Taxpayers and tax preparers are encouraged to file electronically. Yes, the IRS wants you to file online. Most taxpayers can do it for free. I'll have links for you in the Two Wants to Know section. But what I really want to concentrate on today is your online safety and security. And here's why. On Tuesday, the IRS also put out this warning about protecting your tax and financial information when you're online.
The IRS says all tax prep software will now have multi-factor authentication, which asks users for an extra bit of info to log in, like a code sent to their email.
Multi-factor authentication, often called two-factor, could stop a scammer from getting into your account. But really, your safety starts with your password. Use a string of random words, numbers, special characters, things that no one could guess. So that means you got to leave off your kids and your pets because that's too easy. If that sounds like a hassle, trying to remember all those passwords, consider a password manager. You don't have to remember all those passwords. Consumer Reports rated 1Password as the best site that they tested. And only use websites that have an HTTPS at the beginning. They usually have that little lock at the beginning of the web address.
Sites with HTTPS use encryption to prevent any information you exchange from being spied on or changed while it's traveling across the internet.
Consumer Reports created a free online security planner. I pulled it up on my phone today and kind of went through it. It asks you what devices you use, what you're most concerned about, and then it develops a plan specifically for you. I have this in the Two Wants to Know story right now. Hey, and since we're talking money and taxes, we have two experts on tonight at 5:30 answering your questions about debt, finances, credit cards. Text your questions to 336-379-5775.
That time of the day where we grade ourselves. Checking up on our forecast for you. It's called Hold Me To It. Our prediction for yesterday was for today to be a warm and comfortable afternoon. 72 degrees was our exact prediction. And in fact, we had a high temperature that just came in down at 73. So a check mark on the board, just 1 degree off today. And we have an accuracy streak of 12 afternoons. Let's talk about tomorrow. I expect it'll be the warmest day of the year. Today was. Tomorrow will be just a little bit warmer than that. 74, that's my high for tomorrow. You can hold me to that. And coming up, we'll talk about the bad news. When does the weather start to change a little bit? That's next. Welcome back. It's the warmest day of the year, so right now I'm going to talk about cold weather. It's weird, I know. But this is weird. Look at our morning lows from today. This same day where we've been very warm in the afternoon. You started at 29 in Reidsville, 34 in Burlington, 32 in Siler City. In spring, in fall, when you have low humidity, you can have these wild temperature swings. And fast forward to the afternoon, we warmed up quite a lot, didn't we? From 29 to 75 in Reidsville, 32 to 73 in Siler City, all of us in that very comfortable range this afternoon. In fact, at PTI, where we keep those climate records, warmest day of the year so far. Previously, the warmest we've been was 71 degrees back on February 28th. Today, we clocked in at 73. Now, of course,